Alright, so we're trying something new here on the Leftover Pants YouTube channel. I am Baldie Locks, and I bring to you Baldie's Baseball Talk. Now, for anyone that knows me personally, you know I'm a diehard Boston Red Sox fan, and it is the beginning of July, right before the All-Star break, my favorite time of year. So what I'm going to do is, if this takes off, I'm going to try to do this on a regular basis and bring to you my opinion on the baseball and Boston Red Sox happenings during the baseball season and also sporadically through the winter because that's hot stove season. So if you've been paying attention to Boston lately, they are the streaking Sox. They've won 8 of their last 10, although they did lose last night in demoralizing fashion. They were almost no hit, I think, through the 6th. Against the Texas Rangers. Anyway, like I said, they are winners of 8 of their last 10. They sit right now at 49-36, one away from the 50-win mark, which the Sox have Chris Sale going tonight. He's 11-3, 2.61 ERA against Faria for Tampa Bay. Who cares? But it's almost time for the All-Star break, so I thought it would be a good idea to evaluate the Boston Red Sox at the halfway mark. A little past the halfway mark. So here are 3 things that Baldie Locks is looking at the Boston Red Sox and thinking halfway through. Okay, number 1. I don't care how great the Red Sox offense has been in July and the end of June. I think the Red Sox need a bat. Now, there was a lot of talk about them getting a third baseman. Really, that's the only place they could insert a bat. There was all these rumors that Boston and New York were both going after Mike Moustakas from Kansas City, but now they've rebounded and they're over 500. So they're not selling off their talent this year, or so it would seem, even though Moustakas is a free agent at the end of the season. So that begs the question where the Sox are going to get a bat from, or if they will. Everybody thinks that their offense is all right, but there were a couple of times during the season where they just couldn't hit. Obviously, Pablo Sandoval is not really on the team. He's been demoted to AAA and will probably never come back up and play for the Sox again, depending on what they do with him. But still, Hanley Ramirez isn't putting up the same numbers that he put up last year. He's kind of scuffling, especially against left-handed hitting, until this past week at least. We'll see if that's an anomaly or not. So that begs the question as to where Boston could get a bat from. Now, Dave Dombrowski usually pulls some awesome trade out of his ass around this time of year, closer to the trade deadline. But I honestly am not the GM, and I don't have a solution for this. I just know that they need another bat in the lineup that can put up some runs. This Lei Win at third base, platooning with Devin Marrero, who's done a fine job with the glove. Yeah, he's been hitting the last couple of days, but I don't trust him for the next 3 months. Or Waylon, whatever, to hold down the hot corner for the rest of the season. So everybody says Todd Frazier. Well, Todd Frazier is over the hill and he can't hit. So honestly, I don't have a solution, but I think the Sox should get a bat. Number 2, the second thing that I'm thinking about Boston this year is that if they can't get a bat, they're certainly going to add to the team. They're going to add in some form or fashion. So if Dombrowski can't get a bat and bolster the middle of the lineup, the rumor now is that he's going to try to make a super bullpen like the Indians had last year and the Cubs by adding someone like a David Robertson to the back end of the bullpen, or somebody else that he could add Joe Kelly and Craig Kimbrell. Of course, Craig Kimbrell is having a hell of a season. He's only blown 2 saves, one including the other night, but he's on track for a historical career best season by the end of the year. So if you add David Robertson or someone like that to the back end of the bullpen, technically you could theoretically turn it into a 6-inning game like the Yankees did a couple of years ago when they had Chapman before they traded him to the Cubs. The other option that they could also do in conjunction is to trade for another ace and have like a super 1-2-3. Price is not pitching like an ace, or even like a number 2 or a 3 until recently, and he spent half the season on the DL anyway. But especially in the playoffs, I have no reason to trust him through the rest of the season. I would feel much better about the team if they did add another one or two, some big kind of ace to bolster the rotation, because behind Chris Sale, yeah, Pomeranz has been pitching way over his head at this point. He's been great. He's having a lot of 10K games, striking out a lot of guys, getting a lot of ground ball outs, but still, besides Sale and Pomeranz, you really don't have a lot back there for a first place team. You have Porcello pitching the complete, it's like the mirror universe with Porcello. He was 24-3 last year, and nobody could touch him. This year, everybody's touching him, and he's pretty much on pace for 20 losses, which would be insane. So my idea is Dombrowski loves his Tigers. Even though Justin Verlander would be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to pick somebody up like him through a trade, the rumor is lately that the Tigers are shopping all of their talent and trying to dump the rest of their salary, big salary guys, on the rest of the league so that they can kind of go through a rebuilding process, because clearly it's not going to happen for the Tigers anytime soon. So if Boston gets a third baseman somewhere else, even though it may not be a permanent solution or a rental, I really don't want to trade Rafael Devers, the hotshot AA going on AAA third baseman of the future for the Boston Red Sox, because he's the number one prospect in the organization right now. But if it can bring somebody like Verlander for another 2 or 3 years to Boston, starting pitching won't be an issue. Looking long term, you have Sale for another year and a half. David Price, if he's really this unhappy, he can take off and opt out of his deal in a year and a half. Starting pitching could be a problem in a year and a half to 2 years, but you have a good 2 to 3 year window right now before you have to start paying all your guys like Mookie Betts and Xander Bogaerts. If you bolster a rotation with Chris Sale, Justin Verlander, and David Price, add that to Edwin Rodriguez coming back from the DL at some point, hopefully putting up decent numbers, and Pomeranz pitching way over his head, like I said, having a bounce-back year seemingly. That would be a great rotation. Now, I know that's kind of pie-in-the-sky stuff, but apparently the Tigers are putting everybody on the trading block, including Justin Verlander, so why not take a shot at that? Anyway, number 3. This isn't an idea, it's just an observation. Now, we spoke about David Price a few minutes ago. He's been underachieving ever since he came to Boston. He had an all right first year in Boston, actually. A lot of people don't give him enough credit. But David Price is a little bitch. So he doesn't belong here, even if he pitches well. If he pitches well, nobody's going to fucking care what he has to say. But in terms of him arguing with someone of the stature and legend of Dennis Eckersley on the team flight home last week, which the Red Sox aren't talking about publicly, and neither are the players or Eckersley himself, who now announces for NESN a couple times a year, or a couple dozen times a year. Listen, David Price, 1, isn't pitching well. 2, can't stay healthy. 3, can't stop bitching on Twitter like our president about every little thing under the sun. Oh, nobody cares about what kind of charity I give to, or nobody cares about what's going on off the field for me, or nobody cares that I cracked my fingernail, they just care how I pitch. Yeah, they only care about how you pitch because you're David Price and you collected $217 million, the largest contract ever given out to a Boston Red Sox player in history. That's all anybody cares about. They don't care about your feelings. They don't care about your fingernails. They don't give a shit about anything else other than how you're pitching. So my advice to you would be the same as it would be to the president. Get off Twitter. Start doing your job. If you're hurt, you're hurt. There's nothing you can do about that. But stop bitching to Dennis Eckersley. Stop bitching about the coaching staff. Stop bitching about all your detractors on Twitter and on social media and on Snapchat and everywhere else where you're too busy talking about your dog and your contract, this and that and the other thing. Listen, Boston is a big market team, obviously. It is arguably the sports capital of the world. 4 of the greatest 4 of the greatest sports franchises in the world are in New England, okay? Specifically for the Boston Red Sox. 81 games at Fenway Park. The toughest crowds in sports. The toughest fan base in sports. The toughest media in sports. Why did you take the money and come to a team that you traditionally have talked shit about, hated, arguably, obviously was not a fan of, when you said you wanted to go back to Toronto or St. Louis, the Cardinals were giving you slightly less money? Still a 7-year deal with an opt-out clause after 3. I don't understand David Price. I don't want to hear him bitch. I just want to see him pitch. So, unless you have something that you're not telling us, like, actually, I don't even care. You're getting divorced. I don't care. You have health issues, non-baseball related. I don't care. You just have thin skin and you can't take the media here. I don't care. Okay. You're David Price. You got $217 million. You told TBS in the playoffs last year that the only reason why you came to Boston was because of the $217 million contract. Well, you're collecting the money and you can't deal with the shit that comes with Boston, so maybe you should opt out of your deal and get the fuck out. So that was just my feelings at the halfway mark for the Boston Red Sox and what's going around in baseball, going on around the league. So we'll see. Yeah, Justin Verlander, maybe it's, like I said, it's pie in the sky, hoping for something that may never happen, but Boston is going to add to the team and try to improve it on their way to hopefully a 92 or 90-plus win season, heading into the playoffs, knock on wood, in case something else happens. One last thing, the All-Star Game winners, well, the vote winners, the vote getters, were announced last week. Mike Trout, because of injury, is not going to be starting in right field, so Mookie Betts will be. So he's the only starter for the Boston Red Sox, but more than likely Chris Sale will start. I would hope that Chris Sale will start. Terry Francona better start Chris Sale at the All-Star game because he's the best pitcher on the planet right now. I don't care about Clayton Kershaw out in the National League who can't pitch in the postseason. He's no better than David Price. If he can't pitch in the postseason, don't care what his numbers say lifetime. Don't care what his numbers say in the regular season. If you can't pitch in the postseason, you're just David Price. So the best pitcher on the planet is Chris Sale right now. Obviously, he doesn't give a shit. He's the anti-David Price. He's the anti-Clayton Kershaw. Pitches at a big market team. He's ready to go. Start him in the All-Star game. Also, Craig Kimbrell, more than likely, if the American League has the lead next week in Miami, I think it's in Miami this year, whatever, he needs to close it out because he's untouchable this year. Give him a shot. No better closer in the league right now. Certainly not Chapman. He's not healthy, and he's not looking so great right now, honestly. Anyway, last thing. They always do this final vote, this final online vote for one player in each league that the fans can put there. Obviously, we say vote, hashtag vote X for Xander Bogaerts here in Boston or here in New England. The final vote winners will be revealed tonight. It's July 6th, 2017. Last time they counted the numbers, it looked like he was in second place. Second to Mike Moustakas, actually, who's also having a great season. But Xander Bogaerts, Bogey, let's look at his numbers. This year he played in 79 games. He is hitting .308. That's one of the best on the team. He walks 24 times. He's only got 6 home runs. The power's not there, but he's still hitting great. Everybody says the power will come, whatever. Get into the Red Sox on the team. Xander Bogaerts is, a future Derek Jeter type for this franchise unless he leaves via free agency in a couple years. He's going to be one of the hottest stars in baseball in the next 5 to 10 years. Absolutely no doubt. Hashtag vote Xander. Vote X. Good night.